So good morning, everyone. We are doing a webinar today called Troubleshooting in Disruption. And it's going to talk about the intelligent remediation that is possible with vRealize operations. I am Tim Adams, and Shelly Saville will be the main presenter here. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so your agenda. Here it is. We're going to show you who your specialist team is. We're going to talk about the COVID-19 impact on the data center. We're going to talk VMware's business continuity response, the top 4 use cases for VROPS. And I know after Shelly gets done with that, she's going to jump right into a live demo to show you how things go on. Then we'll have a brief wrap up and next steps. So once again, I am Tim Adams. I am a cloud management account executive for the Southeast. I've been with VMware a little over 3 years, 3.5 years now. I've been in the IT industry for around 25 years. I spent 9 years at Microsoft. I've also worked at Deloitte and EMC. So I've been around a little bit of everything. I've seen the inception of the cloud. So it's been a fun journey. Assisting or actually delivering this today is our cloud management solutions engineer for the Southeast, Shelly Saville. Shelly, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Shelly, you're muted.
Back at it again, the joys of virtual meetings, right? So my name is Shelly. I'm a cloud management solutions engineer here at VMware. Tim and I cover the Southeast region, so we're the direct resources aligned to both of you. Similar to that, my peers, we have an HCI and vSAN specialist team that also focuses on you guys, and a networking and security specialist team. Together, combined, we all make up the software-defined data center team here at VMware that supports the Southeast region. In addition to me on the call today, we also have one of my peers, Tom Sabo, who's also a cloud management solution engineer. He'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to go in there, ask, and Tom will get back to you with the right answer. So I'll pass it back off to Tim to talk a little bit about how coronavirus has been impacting operations in the data center.
Thank you, Shelly. Hey, look, I don't need to tell you, data center personnel, they are trained to anticipate interruption, upheaval, and everything like that. I live in Ohio. I wouldn't say we're in Tornado Alley, but we have had some major tornadoes hit that could take out a data center and take down a business if they don't have the right business continuity and planning. Fires, floods, power outages. I know of a company in Dayton, Ohio that their data center set right off the highway, off an exit ramp off of I-75, and a semi-truck came off the highway a little too fast and could not get stopped and crashed into their building. So you've got to prepare for these types of calamities to strike so that your business is not down. Coronavirus is kind of different right now. It's sending all the people in charge of mission critical stuff into uncharted territory. You're having to work from home more often. My son, for example, works for Cincinnati Bell Technical Solutions at GE Aircraft Engines, and they've had to adjust his schedules and how many people will be showing up in the data center and all of that. So as a result of this pandemic, the dependency on technology is increasing. I mean, you've got more and more teleworkers. We're doing a lot more online retail as we're being asked to social distance and everything. Business to business communications are taking place digitally. Being a little bit of a road warrior, I'm really missing this. It's really killing my Marriott status right now. And we're also getting a lot more interruptions. In the past few weeks, I've heard more children in the background and dogs barking and everything like that as we're trying to do everything online. And all of this is driving more network use and more use of the essential infrastructures that you're responsible for maintaining. I really like this statement. This came from our awesome CEO, Pat Gelsinger, and he said this: at a time when business as usual is not an option, we need to focus on helping each other and assisting our customers. He's talking about you as they respond and adapt. Here at VMware, we have the capabilities to help customers enable their employees to work remotely, maintain productivity, increase connectivity, and provide for continuous secure access to applications regardless of the endpoint. So that's really what we'd like to talk about today. Shelly's going to talk about how some of the vRealize tools allow you to maintain that. So Shelly, next slide, and I'll flip it over to you.
Thanks, Tim. As you all know, maintaining and monitoring your infrastructure in day 2 and beyond is one of the most challenging aspects of your daily routine. And this coronavirus epidemic and its impact to the data center doesn't make it much better. The vRealize Operations Suite is products that provide you with powerful tools and capabilities to help you keep your vSphere environment in check from an operations perspective. It allows you to keep a pulse on what your vSphere environment is doing and KPI metrics to quickly and easily spot issues and potential problems in the environment. In the past few releases of vRealize Operations, we have introduced and continue to improve upon what we like to call self-driving operations. Powered by machine learning or ML, the self-driving operations feature allows the vRealize platform to help automatically optimize, plan, and scale your hybrid cloud based on business intent, which is key. The infrastructure can be configured and optimized to align with the overall landscape of business objectives in an automated way. This automatic performance optimization features play into an overall automation and optimization vision that Tim and I focus on here as cloud management specialists. Our platform focuses on delivering 4 key things. First is continuous performance optimization of an application and automatic workload placement and workload balancing based on operational and business intent. Next is efficient capacity and cost management to reduce costs and improve efficiency with real-time and ML-based capacity analytics correlated with cost analytics, improving utilization and consolidation while planning for the future. Next is what we're going to be focusing on today. That's intelligent remediation to prevent, and troubleshoot faster. And lastly is integrated compliance, which helps reduce risk and enforce IT and regulatory standards. For your vRops history lesson of the day, in vRops 6.5, the new HTML5 user interface was the main feature of the release. In 7.0, the dashboarding canvas, and in 7.5, it was a ServiceNow plugin for notifications. Each new version of vRops presents a kind of a new prodigal feature, which makes upgrading worth it. In my opinion, the new feature that makes upgrading to vRealize 8.0 worth it, which is the latest version until 8.1 comes out later this month, is the troubleshooting workbench. The troubleshooting workbench incorporates artificial intelligence and machine learning, allowing you to be more proactive and agile. This AI and ML-driven troubleshooting evolves IT's approach from a reactive troubleshooting stance to a proactive posture by enabling conservative data and policy-based control access in your entire infrastructure, a way to optimize observable conditions against business key performance indicators, and proactive, real-time, and reliable optimization, remediation, and compliance, leveraging analytics with AI and ML intelligence. For years, users have been developing dashboards similar to what the workbench gives them to guide them when troubleshooting, but nothing has come close to this new construct of the troubleshooting workbench in vRops 8.0. So next, I'm going to switch my screen and jump into the demo and show you a little bit how this works. All right, Tim, confirm that you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Perfect. So, guys, for the next 10 minutes, just suspend reality and pretend that I am an IT admin at a large medical supplies company. I have all these different applications out there that I'm responsible for, keeping an eye on them, making sure they're running healthy. The example I will be using for this demo is a sales card app. This is where medical centers and hospitals can come in and ask our company for bandages, bedpans, or whatever else they need. The sales card app is being monitored by a combination of both service discovery, which actually helps us build out the infrastructure of the application, and application monitoring. I'm going to show you a bunch of different tricks and things we've added in 8.0 and the troubleshooting workbench as well. So you can see that the shopping cart app has been built out to show object relationships. It's got a web tier, an app tier, and a database tier, which includes a couple of web servers and a backend database that is built in MySQL. I created this custom dashboard so I could keep an eye on what's going on in this particular environment. Right off the bat, I'm looking at it, and this application as a whole is running at 25% healthy. That's 75% unhealthy, not acceptable. Thinking about it, it's actually very bad. Being an imaginary systems admin, I'm surprised that the phone hasn't been ringing, but maybe I just got into the office. Looking down, I can see from the tier health widget, the problem seems to be happening at the database tier. And sure enough, this red dot indicates that this is probably some place that I should start. So I'm going to go ahead and click on him and switch the views. So now I'm just looking at the KPIs for the database tier. I'm looking at the MySQL database, and this is the information coming in again from the application monitoring integrated into vRealize. There's a whole lot of green here, but there's certainly one thing that stands out, and that's the CPU. It spiked. If you guys are familiar with CPU demand versus CPU usage, CPU demand is how much I really, really want, and CPU usage is what I can get to, right? And this database is telling me right now that it really, really wants more than it can get to, and it's starving for CPU. I don't know why, so let's go ahead and investigate that. I'm going to go ahead and click on this particular database server, or the VM in this case. I'm going to go into the VM and start looking around. Right off the bat, I can see 4 CPUs. That's something I'm going to keep at the forefront of my mind because I'm sure it'll be important later. Also, there's an alert over here letting me know that CPU has been high for an extended period of time. This tells me that it's not just some random spike. This has been something that's been going on for at least an hour or more. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that alert and see if I can get some more information. One of the nice things about vRealize operations is it's not just like, hey, user, here's an alert, you go figure it out. It's like, hey, user, here's an alert. Here's my first recommendation to solve this problem, right? It's always recommending that we check the processes that run on the virtual machine. It's asking, hey, is there a runaway process? Is there a hung process? Is there something stuck in a bad state? So now you're like, okay, let me pivot over and start logging into the virtual machine, right? No, not anymore. Because with vRealize operations, all this stuff is integrated. Whether it's right out of the box or with our vRealize orchestration integration, with which you can bring in your own workflows, or in this case, with the service discovery / application monitoring combinations, where you can do things like get top processes, which is pretty cool, right? So go ahead and click on this button and see which top processes are running in this VM. So from here, I can click on the button to let it know how many processes I want to bring back and hit run. In a minute, it's going to come back and tell me what my top processes are. Right off the bat, I can see MySQL is using 400%. Well, there is 4 CPUs, 100% each. That's what I would expect, right? It's not like some weird McAfee thing or who else knows running on the VM that I need to kill. So this is something I got to figure out. Why is it using so much? So I'm going to go ahead and close this up and start looking at our new troubleshooting workbench. The first iteration of the troubleshooting workbench, the small version, can be found in the alert itself. It's right here and it's called potential evidence. Potential evidence is going to bring up 3 pillars of information. First thing it's going to bring up is any events. We're talking vSphere, NSX manager, vSAN manager. If something is going on, let me know the tool, and it'll start bringing in the events. The next one is property changes. Did someone flip the switch on something? Did they change the configuration on something? Is something was up, now down? These are all bits of information I can bring in. And the last one is using an element of the machine platform built in, and it's called anonymous metrics. Are the metrics acting differently than they were a few minutes ago? Drastically different? That's a telltale sign that something going on, right? I don't see anything particularly interesting in here. It's saying that the CPU workload is high, but we kind of knew that already. So I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to go to the full power of the workbench. Let's go ahead and watch it. Now the 3 pillars I was talking about earlier actually become pillars. There's my events, my property changes, my anomalous metrics. Now, if you've talked to anyone about machine learning, one of the first things they'll tell you is that if you can't control the scope of what you're looking at, you're just looking at noise, right? Period. So vRealize operations gives you the ability to do this across 2 vectors. The first vector is time. by default, the tool is giving me an hour of information. But you know what? I want to expand this out. I want to go to a full 6 hours. I can even go backwards in time, look at different periods of time, etc. But I'm just going to go back 6 hours. So boom, update. Next thing you need to do is control the scope of the topology, right? By default, we are giving you the VM that I am looking at and everything that is basically one hop up and one hop down. So that means I'm looking at things like the data store, the OS, the host itself. And because this is a database server and I'm investigating it, I'm going to expand it out one more because I want to include the database itself and actually the HTTP checks that I have been running against it using application monitoring. So I am going to expand those out, and now we've got a fun screen of things to look at. Okay, NSX did something. Okay, that's fine, not very exciting. DRS moved some things, not really anything of note. There's some property changes. I'm going to start looking at the anonymous metrics. And whoa, okay, hold on a second. The connection count for the database has gone crazy since 9 a.m. What's going on here? So what the tool gives you the ability to do is start pinning metrics. I can pin it or say, I can pin it, which I did, or I can say, no, not interested. I can throw that metric away, say, get this off my workbench. This isn't a problem. This is the problem. In this case, I went ahead and pinned it. And you can see this little metric guy up here did a little dance, and that means I've moved the metric I'm interested in to my metrics tab. So I can go to the metrics tab here and see my shopping cart app connection count for the database. The next part of the machine learning platform of vRealize operations kicks in, and in this case, it's dynamic thresholds. Everything here that's got a little yellow tab is saying, hey user, this particular thing is acting differently than it was before, right? Not a dramatic difference, but normally it doesn't act up like it, giving you abnormalities. I'm going to say, grab the utilization, let's grab the CPU usage and demand. So looking at CPU usage, which is normally around, say, 94 or 95%, that's not scary. And right about the time the CPU usage went high, my demand count went through the roof, and I'm starving the poor database for CPU. Okay, what do I do now? Well, I can take a look at dashboard sharing, zip all this up, throw it on a dashboard, and reach out to the shopping cart app team and let them know what's going on. There should be no surprise in the current crisis that my imaginary company is experiencing an uptick in demand in our online medical supplies shopping cart application. When I reach out to them, they could say that they're also seeing the problem too, and things are a little bit slow. So now we've had a conversation with them, and we decide that, you know what, adding a couple more CPUs to this is probably a pretty good idea. So let's go back to the VM. Keep in mind that I haven't left vRealize operations at all. I can go ahead and change the CPU count within the tool right now. So let's go ahead and add CPU count to the VM. It's going to say that the minimum the tool is suggesting is 5 CPUs. However, with the unpredictability and the demand of our online shopping platform, I'm going to go ahead and crank that up to 6 to ensure that we don't have any more degradation in performance due to an infrastructure allocation issue. Then, whether it's hot add or hot add enabled or not, obviously I'm playing games with this one because it's a database and we'd have to schedule this and go about a whole bunch of change control, but we're in a hurry, so we're going to go ahead and I guess begin that action. So powered off allowed, begin action. So now the tool is going to go out to vCenter and change that, add those 2 CPUs, and if I go back to the alert after a certain period of time, it's going to clear and we're done. But wait, are we done? What if we made the change and something actually broke? How do we know things are okay? So I did make the change they requested, but what if something happened when I rebooted the database and because I added those CPUs, something, God help us, went wrong? This is where I can go back to the troubleshooting workbench and prove to myself that not only is everything working, but it got better. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and get back into the troubleshooting workbench. I'm going to change my scope so I can go down just to the VM since I just want to make sure everything's okay. If I just scroll over, I can see that, okay, the CPU and guest and the CPU queue went down. Right, when I made that change, it rebooted. It went down. That's probably a telltale. I'm going to pin that to my metrics tab. Then I'm going to use my last trick I have today with the machine learning platform to use a feature called metric correlation. metric correlation is going to look across this VM or the peer or whatever is sitting next to it. But in this case, I'm just going to look across the VM and ask what other metrics are acting like this or on the opposite of this one, right? Because that's really important. If I make something go up and a whole bunch of stuff goes down, that might be good or bad. You should probably take a look at it. So I'm going to look at metric correlation and say, let's correlate this across just the VM. So I'm going to go back into metrics, click down here and into metric correlation. Let's correlate just across the VM. So it's going to take a couple of seconds and come back to me and say, okay, the guest CPU went up when you made your change and went down. CPU demand went down at the same time. Well, I kind of expected that one right. Let's go ahead and pin that one. Then I'm going to scroll down. Okay, well, this is an interesting one, the writes to the database. The IOPS was able to pull off the database when it was down, and the VM was begging for CPU. Now, when I made the change, it went back up. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and pin that one. So now I can take these three, make another dashboard, and reach out to the database team or the sales team or the shopping cart team and say, hey guys, I made your change, and guess what? The CPU is down now. You're getting better write throughput, and probably better read throughput as well to your database. And this was a quick run through of kind of an example of how to troubleshoot an application using the new troubleshooting workbench in vRealize 8.0. This feature is really powerful in helping you guys deal with things that are unexpected in your environment and being able to quickly correlate metrics and figure out what's going wrong. So at this point, I'm going to throw it back over to Tim to kind of add his comments and wrap us up.
Okay, thank you, Shelly. Hey, as a wrap up to all this, Shelly and I are doing these webinars as a power block seminar. If there are topics that you would like to see, please, by all means, reach out to us. We'd love to have some feedback on what we should present next. I would also have another call to action. If specific to your employer, if there's anything that you would like for us to talk about, to demo in your environment, whatever, pertaining to vRealize or even VCF, VMware's Cloud Foundation, we'd be more than happy to do that. Shelly had a slide up earlier. My email address is simply atim@vmware.com. So that's Alpha Tango India Mike @vmware.com. Shelly can be reached at saville@vmware.com. But we thank you for your participation and look forward to your feedback both on this session and what you would like to see in the future. Thank you all very much.
And I'll stick around until the half hour. If anyone has any questions they want to ask, feel free to stay on and ask us now. So thank you again.